It's
What?
You can totally say hi.
Hi.
We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action. May the magic of summer guide us on our way.
Hi. It worked for Zoe. I figured it could work for me. Welcome to this Sunday at the beginning of a great many things, and the end of a few others. The last true summer service in our more low-key summer season here at River Road, the dawning edge of a new school year and everything that brings. Welcome to this place. If it is your 400th or your very first time, welcome to a Sunday where once a year, maybe I flatter myself it's only once a year, we let ourselves get just a little bit weird. Once each summer, for our big science sermon, I get out the great big books that I only have time to read in the summer, and I think big thoughts while the amazing, the talented, the incredibly gracious Dave Leonard gets out his theremin right here before us to pull music quite literally out of thin air. Today, we reflect not just as we usually do on what really matters, but on what is the matter with things. We reflect on the relationships that connect us, the brains that perceive it all, and what we choose to carry with us into each new beginning and each new day. We will bless those new beginnings. We'll ponder the ordering of our priorities. We'll get weird when weird is the only honest way to be, because sometimes isn't that the truth? And you are welcome for it all. Come, let us worship together. A reading for a time of blessing. Walking Toward Morning by Victoria Safford. You know, we do it every day. Every morning we go blinking into the glare of our freedom, into the wilderness of work and the world, making maps as we go, looking for signs that we are on the right path. And on some days, we walk right out of our oppressions, those things that press down on us from the outside or more often the inside. We shake off our shackles of fear, prejudice, timidity, closed-mindedness, self-righteousness, and claim our freedom outright. Terrifying as it is, the freedom to be human and humane. Every morning, every day, we leave the places where we lay our heads and we decide what we will take with us. What will carry? How much integrity? How much truth-telling? How much compassion in case someone along the way might need some? How much arrogance? How much anger? How much humor? How much willingness to change and be changed, to grow and to be grown? How much faith and hope? How much love and gratitude? You pack these things along with your lunch and your pencil case and your medication and your inhaler, your notebook and your papers. Every day we gather what we think we'll need. We pick up what we love and all that we so far have come to believe. We put on our history, shoulder our experience and memory, take inventory of our blessings, and we start walking toward morning. Friends, every Sunday before the first day of school, we gather together for a blessing of backpacks and work bags, of cell phones and devices that hold what we shoulder when we move out into the day. This is my work bag, which lay unused for the better part of a year and a half in my Zoom nook until I opened it up and remembered what always I shouldered, even if only virtually. Yes, there is the computer. There's the power cord, which I often forget when I come to the office, which means that both it and I literally and figuratively run out of energy by about 3 o'clock. There are the energy bars. There are the scraps of paper, the to-do lists, and the journal that I take with me everywhere because you never know when inspiration for a sermon will strike. And each of you shoulders your own burdens and blessings and fears and to-do lists and wonders. Each of you carries with you, not just in bags, but in your heart, all that leads you into a new day. And so, we invite you into this time of blessing and of shared burden in a new era.
Unitarian Universalism is more than just a Sunday morning faith. Every day, we want you to remember your community and the support that's here for you. We want you to feel loved wherever you are. So today, we're blessing whatever type of container you bring with you or your daily tasks.
We bless all that helps keep your life together: a book bag, work bag, lunch bag, project bag, or electronic device. Bless whatever container helps you hold all you need to hold, the good things and the challenging things. I invite you to come forward with your bag or just yourself to receive a blessing and a keychain to remind you that you are blessed.
Nancy, take this keychain token to remind you that we care about you here at RRUUC and every day, not just when we're together. So I invite you now to come forward, and Nancy, Laura, and I will all have tokens for you.
Anywhere. May you go out into the world blessed. and so may we all go out into the world this fall, whether physically or virtually, with the love of this community and all of our shared blessings for a safe year of learning and change and growth. Our hymn is We Give Thanks. Bailey will be our song leader, and we invite you to rise in body or in spirit or in any kind of way to sing together.
So this hymn is a pretty simple one in that it has only one set of lyrics, and we'll sing it through twice. And for those who know it and are comfortable, you're welcome to echo every phrase. Cliff will be playing the echo on the piano. Otherwise, you can sing with me. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for those gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Sing out. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for those gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Amen and amen.
Of sharing our joys and concerns, we remind ourselves that none of us comes here complete. We come bearing the burdens and the gifts, the joys and the sorrows, the laughter and the tears of our lives. Some of those joys and sorrows can come to words and be shared with those we know or have just met, be shared with the community we gather around us. Some are more eloquent in their silence, and you are invited during any point of the service, including right after this time of joys and sorrows, to light a candle right here and also in the back for those joys and concerns that you hold most closely in your heart. Today, I lift up just a couple to share with our whole community, including the incredible courage and grit and kindness of River Road member Beth Zwick, who was struck by a car some weeks ago while walking across the street in Washington near her home. Beth is on the other side of a couple of surgeries, continuing on a very long road of rehab. She remains so open to everything the world has to offer, even in and through the struggle and the pain that comes when all of life is interrupted in a moment. We also lift up Renee Worthington, knowing that her oldest brother, Joseph, who everyone called Steve, passed away on August 12th after a long battle with a variety of illnesses. For these, and for so much more, for the losses we grieve and the courage we find, for the beginnings we fear and the opportunities that make us nothing but excited. For all these, we lift up a space of hope and of prayer.
told me close, ring set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Good morning. We've done a few meditative things this month of August. Some of you have been here to enjoy them. This morning, I would like to lead a meditation in two parts. One is focusing on yourself in this world. The second part being yourself in relation to others in this world. To avoid interrupting the flow of things, I would like to take a moment to find a hand position for you all that I will ask you to hold when we're doing the meditation for being in relationship. So you all probably at some point, if you've been here, for our closing, we often hold our palms out like so. Yeah. And that is one option for you. An option that I really would love to see happen is for you all to, Jan, would you come up here and help me out? For you to find a position where you're near somebody, Jan, hold your hand up like that, so that one palm is below. Here, let's do this higher so they can all see. One palm is below and one palm is above. Maybe about 2 inches or so. And if you can do it on both sides of you, maybe, yes. So one palm above and one palm below. Now, you may not have a person to one side or the other. In that case, improvise, do something. Or if you would rather not do it this way, you can just hold your hands like this or not. It's all up to you. All right. So would you please, as you're able, stand? And find your feet in a nice position so that you could shift your weight from one place to the other. A nice solid footing. It's so nice to see people on the balcony again. Yeah. And as you're comfortable, please either close your eyes or a downward gaze. Let's start by just simply noticing your breath. Notice what you're hearing around you. In your mind's eye, do a scan of your body. Start by doing a scan by looking at the top of your head. Move on down to perhaps your forehead, the back of your head. Move down to your neck, all around, to the tops of your shoulders. Down your arms, down your torso, down the spine, from the neck, all the way down to the base of your spine. Feel your hips, your thighs, your calves, the top of your feet, your feet making contact with the floor below you, holding you up. Please now take one hand, open it up, and place the palm at your heart area. Silently offer thanks for the gift of your life. Let your hand drop to your side. And gently open your eyes. Look around you. Now, if you would find that relational hand position, whatever you've worked out beforehand, again, 2 inches is about right. Here, Adam. Once again, as you're comfortable, close your eyes or look downward. In your mind's eye, notice someone to your right. In your mind's eye, notice someone to your left. A person or two behind you. A person or two in front of you. You might start to feel some warmth or tingling in your palm, or maybe some kind of energetic pressure. If you do, let it flow. Or you might have a feeling of connection in your heart to others. You might feel lighter or heavier, and maybe even have a sense of joy. Think on how you are connected to everyone in this room in a very wonderful way. And so once again, I ask you to silently give your thanks for the gift of your life, and silently give thanks for the gift of being connected to all things and to all lives in this amazing universe. So ends the meditation.
So here's the thing about giving. In any context worth giving to, it's not an obligation, it's an invitation. It's a time when we each as individuals take what we have and offer it up for the sake of doing something together. Giving feels like Dave Leonard, the AV guy, making music from his heart and from our collective hopes. Giving feels like Cliff Harden, the director of music, lifting up his spiritual journey so that we might know we are not alone. Giving comes in time and talent and treasure in any number of ways. And so, in this time of offering, you are invited to give. As you are willing and able and so moved, you can give the old-fashioned way in a collection box right in the back of the sanctuary. You can give all the new-fashioned ways on the website and text to give 73256. Put RRUUC in the subject line. When we give, we commit to the idea that together we are something greater than we could ever be alone. And so, as we are blessed, so we extend our blessings. In Iroquois mythology, before there was anything, before there were any things at all, in fact, there were two brothers. Some say they are the grandsons of Sky Woman who fell from a hole in the heavens. The stories have named these two brothers the Sky Holder who casts his eyes upward and toward the heavens, into the infinite, seeing the mystical dance beyond naming and all that jazz, weaving from that interconnected nothingness the very first people to live upon the back of the turtle who carries all creation. Some say that Skyholder created the first people on his own, but most say that he created us along with his brother, whose name was Flint. Flint, whose wisdom did not come from the heavens, but from the common things, the objects from which we humans could make tools. Tools that could be used to feed, to survive, to dominate, to conquer, to win. And so they say that the Skyholder's co-creator from the very first moments that anyone dreamed of us was this Flint who did not look up toward the heavens, but down toward his feet, where a stone could be turned into a spear point and a tree branch could be turned into its handle, and Skyholder and Flint created humankind together in their own shared image. Now, some have said this is a story of good and evil, as so many origin stories are, each of us born from the dance between a vast interconnected benevolence and dominion, one at the tip of a spear. Some say it is a story of life and death, the infinite and the finite. Some say this is a story more accurate than perhaps any story told before or since about the fundamental reality of what it means to live, work, suffer, and learn inside the particular condition of the human brain. An origin story of the brain itself, operating as it does across two quite different hemispheres with two quite different vantage points from which to take in and take on the world around us. One half of our consciousness synthesizing, connecting, holding the whole as if to gaze with the eyes of the Skyholder. The other half of that same brain diagnosing, categorizing, delineating, and making use of what crosses our path right here, right in front of us, every day. Now, anyone in the scientific world who has read any issue of Scientific American for the last 50 years can tell you some things about the two hemispheres of the human brain and the mysteries therein, right? In the simplest sense, it has often been said that the left hemisphere of the brain is the domain of logic, while the right is the place that emotion lives. Left hemisphere brain injuries result in difficulty with computation, analysis, sequential thinking. Right hemisphere brain injuries result in trouble with abstract meaning, context, imagination. But one of this century's most influential writers in neuroscience and in philosophy, Ian McGilchrist, has spent the better part of the last 20 years honing an analysis of this long understood dichotomy in a new and sharply illuminating way that I think has something important to say about our spiritual, sociological, political lives. He found an analysis which takes us back, as all good science eventually does, to the stories we tell about ourselves in the first place. Skyholder, you see, the one who looked up and saw the great interconnected dance. Skyholder is no more or less a part of our nature, no more or less our creator than his brother Flint, who looked at what was directly before his eyes and made use of it. And the very latest science shows that the right side of our brain, that so often tossed around as simply the seat of emotion, is in fact the part of our very being that understands context. It is the half of us that sees everything for the relationships that comprise it, and nothing at all separate from the web of interconnections that gives it birth. And the left side, The left side, no more or less a part of us than its brother, that half so often considered merely the home of logic, is in fact more accurately understood to be the part of the brain that grasps the specific, the observable, what can be grasped in your hand. The left knows how to categorize and use things. It knows the tree. The right knows how those things interrelate. It knows the forest. The tree, the forest, the tree, the forest, the object, its context, the object, its context, the individual, the whole damn gathered interconnection whole from which the individual arises and upon which the individual depends. You get the idea, right? The astonishing biology of it all means that we spend our lives toggling back and forth from the specific in the individual to the interconnected and the contextual, from one of our shared creators to the other. And so, if we are to have any real understanding of this world and of our place within it, how to help each other, or how to save the planet, or how to make it through 6th grade, or how just not to give up, we are tasked with moving from the sky holder to Flint and back again, over and over again. And here's where the conversation for me gets real and risky. Here's where I get out of the story, and honestly, even out of the science, and tell you why I think these questions, while seemingly just nerdy, are not just philosophical or interesting, but existential, like a matter of actually whether or not we are going to survive. Because the left brain, you see, in most instances, that one that can grasp the specific, the usable, the measurable. The left brain in most eras is way more profitable than the right. The left brain gets things done. It turns stone into weapons. It turns materials into tools. It turns information into spreadsheets. It turns ideas into bureaucracies. It makes things make sense. And what happens when an entire society and the individuals therein are systematically conditioned to preference the left brain, the specific, the individual, the usable, the measurable, the achievable? What happens? We use things. We categorize each other. We live lives out of context with the forces from which they are birthed and upon which every life depends. It does not take a fancy neuroscientist to see how quickly a life lived out of context leads to precisely the overlapping social, political, ecological, and spiritual crises in which we find ourselves right now. Dominated by the left brain, insensate to the interconnections among us, we use things. We use this planet. We use each other. We make of the world merely a series of objects to be manipulated, to be managed, to be labeled and grasped in our own individual hands. And in so doing, eventually we find, as surely we are finding now, that the center simply will not hold. And so it is a matter of life and death for us to ask what it will take for us to remember both creators fused into our own being, and in so doing, to reset our understanding of what comes first. The object you can hold in your hand and use, or the relationships that have all needed to fall into place for that object to exist in the first place. Now, bear with me here because I am allowing myself to get even nerdier for just a moment, to take on just a few more, I think, wonderful and fascinating ideas that this neuroscientist, Ian McGilchrist, has given us. He says that in his latest book, he says that when we get down to it, there is a problem with all these things that we call things. These objects that we perceive at the cost of understanding the whole. The problem with things, he says, is that there are no things as such that are actually independent and separate and usable and distinct. There are no things on their own. There are no individuals out of context. Instead, he says, there is a kind of slow-flowing river of relationship and interrelationship. There is no object that exists outside of its context. There is no flint without sky holder. Relationship, he says, comes first. It is the generative force that makes stuff. All matter, in fact, is, he says, just the current phase of a network of relationships. Now, in a recent podcast that was shared with me by Joel Schrag, who's right there, so you can thank him for me going down this very nerdy rabbit hole, Ian McGilchrist stated it so clearly that I want to pull a longer quote. Relationships, he says, are actually primary to the things that are related. Relationships are more basic than the things that are related. It is not that we first have things and then we work out how all those things are related, but first we have a universe of relationship, and out of that web, certain crossing points in the web stand out for our attention, and we focus on those. And we call them a thing. Think about it like the phases of water, right? Water, this one substance, has a liquid phase right in front of me, a solid phase we call ice, a gaseous phase that rises up from the hot city streets every night. The phases of water are not unlike the phases of relationship. Matter, objects, things we can use, he writes, are just a solid, congealed, usable phase of a set of relationships in which those things arise. Everything exists in relationship. Water itself is a bonding of one H and two O's. That makes the breath that sustains you and fills your lungs. The relationships that comprise the world are all around us. Consider, if you will, the chair that you are sitting in, however uncomfortable it might be. It could not exist in the form you see it right now unless someone comprehended the biology of a human butt and from that relationship created it. Think of your dining room table, which could not exist in the form you see it now unless someone comprehended the sociology of people who might sit for a meal. Think of this building that we here at River Road love and spend so much of our time and our devotion sustaining and supporting. This building is nothing more or less miraculous than the congealed structure of all of the relationships that have gone in over the course of almost 70 years to creating and sustaining it. It is not a thing. It is the result of the relationships that make it up. And so when we retain this building in its shape, we are holding it in form for all of the relationships that will come in the years to come. And in this way, relationship, interconnection, context, mutuality come first before everything else. Before you and me and all the things we use and want to buy and dream up and label, relationship comes first. Relationship is the stuff of creation. Interdependence is the condition of existence, while conversely, self-isolation and the pursuit of individual ends, well, one might say that is the condition of oblivion. And if we think we can understand and can categorize the world based solely on how we might use the things of this world, well, the great teachers of every age have something to say about that too. The Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. Or from St. Augustine, if you prefer to draw from the Christian tradition, there's this old chestnut. If you understand God, then it is not God you have understood. Or, if you prefer your wisdom from the physicists, this from Richard Feynman, if you understand particle physics, you have not understood particle physics. What I'm getting at, And when I'm trying to draw out from the science and all the analysis and all the big words of cutting-edge brain science and the mythos older than modernity, what I'm trying to say is this idea that we cannot make our way through all of the challenges that lie ahead of us, collectively or individually, if we do not fundamentally alter the way we perceive the world to align not just one part of ourselves, but all of ourselves to creating a more survivable and interconnected whole. All the people we've categorized, all the systems we've bureaucratized to the point of functional oblivion, they're all falling apart, or at least profoundly changing. And it can feel right now, I know, like we are caught in the middle of forces we can't control, and all our small choices can do nothing to shift the balance of hate and division and destruction and the increasing scarcity of the resources that we all depend on. As Flint searches for more tools, the tools seem harder to find. And yet there is good news. And the good news, the really, really good news, I think, is that resetting the way we perceive the world away from objects to use and toward a relationship that holds us all, it does not require fancy mystical arts and PhDs we may not have. In fact, we carry it with us all the time. The half of our brains that is pre-wired to comprehend the interconnected whole, which is the closest we'll ever get to witnessing the sacred. We carry it within us. It is not that we have been created to use and dominate and pull apart what once has been connected, but that we ourselves are capable of creating new and more whole relationships right now. And here's the waiting miracle. If relationship comes before things and before categories, before tools and uses and divisions and every battle ever fought, then we, with these miraculous brains of ours, we can change the world by putting our relationships first, starting here, starting now, starting with those relationships that have frayed the most in the course of this pandemic that has separated and atomized and isolated. We carry within us both flint and sky holder, and as such, we can choose to understand our lives in different, more interconnected ways. As Ian McGilchrist put it in words that capture for me, frankly, the whole point of progressive religion, so I don't know why I even bother preaching anything else, he said there is a faith inside all of us and a wish. That's what I wish for people, he said. That they would make contact again with the vision of a world that is not a heap of pointless fragments, that is not chaotic, ugly, and without meaning, which is not just one in which we are the playthings of chance and embroiled in a war of all against all, but one that is beautiful and responsive and intrinsically complex, rich, and conscious. And so you and me, and all of us, we're caught in a network of mutuality. We are created to be a part of something larger than ourselves. We are made in our very biology to build relationships of mutual vulnerability, survivability, and hope. And here, in this humble little place, here's a place where we get to practice it. And so, let us follow the science, maybe. Putting relationship first, remembering the matter with things, the way in which none of us lives out of context, but in community, each and every day, starting now. Do you know this is all his own composition from his own heart, lifted up in play and creativity and wisdom for all of us. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Marcia and Danny up in the booth making the wizardry all work. Thanks to each and every one of you for being here. When we gather, it's not just about what we want to do together, but how we want to be together. And there are so many ways to connect to the life of our congregation. I'll just lift up a couple of announcements before we close. First of all, that this year, as we begin the new congregational year, we have understood and defined as a year of reset in our earth ministry programs and for our spiritual lives, to reset our relationships to each other, to reset our relationship to this earth, to reset our cynicism and our fear that there is nothing we can do. We will begin on In-Gathering Sunday, in which we'll have our water communion ceremony. Please bring a little bit of water from the tap, your home, your travels, anywhere. And on Water Communion Sunday, we'll invite you to begin your time of reset by making one small commitment toward the environment and shared earth ministry, and we'll continue to explore that as we go forward. It is also registration time for religious education. Beth and Laura and our whole team in Spirit Space today, thank you. And we will start our full religious education program coming up very shortly on September 11th. We do need you to register, and we do need volunteers. It only happens when we make it happen together. And finally, if you got a bunch of emails from me this week asking for gift cards or telling you I need you to call me right now for an urgent matter that demands your attention, it was not me. Email scammers are getting smarter than the wisest among us. Block and delete, and when in doubt, maybe just call me in the office. It is always a blessing to be and become each other's people. And so, as we go from this place where once again we have gathered to seek and find meaning, may you go then to be who you already are. You are the joy and the justice, the power and the possibility, the goodness and the mercy of all that is sacred in this world and a great many things beyond it. And so, may our blessings go with you as those powers are released through your love into the waiting world. May you know that you are a part of something so much greater than yourself, and that in and of yourself you are and always have been enough. Our service is ended. Blessed be, and amen.